Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Scorpio energy. I really must have, I don't know what I did, but I have lost another video. It's like, so it's just, it all happens for a reason. So we're going to redo the video and see what message wants to come out this time. And like usual, we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives. The top row I refer to as high vibe Scorpio energy, which anyone can harness. Some people can try to pretend that they harness more high vibe Scorpio energy, but they don't. But high vibe Scorpio is people who do want to explore the mysteries of life emotionally. They want to be in deep, meaningful relationships. Scorpio energy can talk about the fact that we're these emotionally complex human beings. And some people want to be in relationships with other people who are motivated and inspired by love. Because it's great to be in relationships with people like that. But they just kind of want to indulge themselves in the relationship. That's not really sometimes the truth of who they are. The bottom row can represent more people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Scorpio energy. But some people are struggling within themselves. They might want to move forward in life a little differently, trying to work through their emotional confusion, have more hope and faith and belief in themselves or in their dreams or in others or in love. And so some people could be battling within themselves. Some people are moving forward in life differently. Some people are trying to pretend they're moving forward in life differently, but they're the same person they were in the last job, relationship, or friendship. And then there's other people in the world who have no interest in doing their life differently. They're happy living their life the way they live it. And that's fine too. Everybody's got free will to live their life whatever way they want. We just need to see the truth about the different people we're dealing with. And with Scorpio being emotional water sign energy, shadowy Scorpio can be that people love the world, love themselves, love things they indulge in, love ego and image or money and materialism more than they love love. And we just have to accept the truth that that's where some people are at. And that's what drives them, motivates them. Some people don't want to do deep, meaningful relationships. The reason for the bottom row's reading is the Page of Swords. And that can be that, in tarot we have the pages, we have the knights, we have the kings and the queens, we have the emperor and empress. Life's all about learning these lessons. And some people have a lot of lessons they haven't learned. And they're still kind of, the Page of Swords represents Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. Doesn't mean people are dealing with those zodiac sun signs, but, Libra has to do with what we think is just and fair. Aquarius can have to do with if we're kind of more egotistical and self-centered or caught up more in the world, think we're the center of attention, all about wanting to have these things. And Gemini can be just what our truth is. And, we can all be more immature in our thinking, logic, and reasoning. And we've all been more immature, where we are more codependent, more caught up in the world, more caught up in ourself. In the top row, the reason for the top row's reading, the devil can just represent our more worldly, shadowy, immature nature. Our pride, our ego, our lust, our greed, our lazy nature, our self-indulgent nature, our fearful nature. We've all been here to some degree or another. It's just that some people kind of realize that maybe the reason they weren't moving forward was because of those things that manipulate them. The devil can just reference and refer to all those things that manipulate us, within us, in our people in our life, the world. The world tries to tell us kind of subconsciously or through advertising or popular culture that you should look like this and you should act like this and you should do this, you'll be happy. And some people could have done all those things and The devil can talk about that you feel it's limiting and restricting and confining and imprisoning. I want to go live my more authentic life. I'm going to dress the way I want. I'm going to be in high vibe energy. I'm not trying to upset people, hurt people. I just want to go live my authentic life. I want to treat other people the way I like to be treated. I want to treat people in a just and fair and authentic and loving way. Who wants to work together with me? Being more authentic. Not more immature or defensive or prideful or egotistical or manipulative or bossy or controlling or abusive or want to be in a relationship with me for status or ego and image or indulgence. Who wants to work together with me inspired by truth and love? I'll treat you in a just and fair way, the way I like to be treated. Will you treat me that way? And when we were in our more codependent energy, and some people are still in their more codependent energy, they're still looking outside of themselves for the answer. Like, instead of realizing they hold the key to free themselves, but they'd have to learn to love themselves, believe in themselves, be a loving and encouraging person to themselves. Quit looking outside of yourself to the world and to other people to do that for you. And some people haven't learned that lesson, and then some people just can be kind of more immature in just even how they view relationships. So let's go look at the bottom row. We have the Ten of Pentacles, the Eight of Pentacles, the Hangman, and the Queen of Swords. We've all been in relationships with people. The Ten of Pentacles can represent a foundation or a Virgo. But we've all been in workplaces, friendships, family dynamics, friend groups, school, whatever, The Ten of Pentacles can represent all these kind of different institutions of the world that we get ourselves involved in. And we could have put in work and effort in the Queen of Swords, which is Aquarius energy, also represented by the Star card, to try to bring a dream into reality. We could have had that hopeful, believing spirit. But some of the people we could have been working with, they could have a problem at looking at life from any other perspective, or looking at life from a higher perspective, or having hope and faith and belief in themselves, or in others, or in love. And so they kind of defend, I want to keep doing this. I have a way of living life. And shadowy hangman can be, I don't want to look at life from any other perspective. We can work at things and we can feel stuck, is what the hangman can talk about. It's an opportunity for us to kind of want to get to the truth in the Queen of Swords about why we feel stuck. Some people just blame everyone else. Well, it's their fault. The truth is, we all if we're going to work together with other people, we have to work cooperatively with people, and it's not just our way or the highway. And the Hangman and the Queen of Swords and the Queens can talk about how people think and feel. Some people could be full of themselves. I have a certain status and image or education or looks or money, social clout. I'm in a position of authority over you at work. I don't have to look at life from any other perspective. And that's how kind of more shadowy energy can be. I have these certain traits, characteristics, and assets. So do high vibe people. The high vibe people don't think that gives them the right to be more immature, bossy, controlling, prideful, stubborn, unjust, unfair, unkind. But other people could think it gives them the right to do that. We all have our idea of what we think is just and fair. Some people are just very distrustful. They've already worked with people who are more stubborn and prideful, maybe bossy and controlling, and now they don't trust anyone, which is too bad. You know, if we looked at life differently and if we put things in perspective, not everyone's the same, right? We've all known people who are more bossy, more controlling, more prideful, more egotistical, more immature, but not everyone is that. You know, are we willing? The Hangman talks about being enlightened to the truth. In High Vibe, the Queen of Swords talks about seeing the truth. Are we willing to maybe detach from an old way of viewing life? The Ten of Pentacles can kind of mean like, I'm all in, because there's a maximum of 10. I'm all in. This is how I view life. And this is how I'm going to keep putting in work and effort to move forward. Are we willing to say, from the Ten of Pentacles down to the Eight of Pentacles, that maybe in the Two of Pentacles, like, not everybody's the same? I've known bossy, controlling, immature people. Does that mean everybody's bossy and controlling and immature? No. Am I going to let people in my life who maybe were more immature, were more caught up in the world, were more about themselves, were more stubborn, prideful, bossy or controlling or hurtful and unkind, keep me stuck and defensive? High Vibe people said no. High Vibe people don't want to give up on their inner child, hopeful, believing nature. And they realize, I need to quit working with people who've shown me the truth that they are who they are and live their life the way they live it. And they defend living their life that way. And I felt, the Queen of Swords can feel like I felt betrayed. And then I can be defensive to everyone. But the High Vibe people said, no, I don't think everyone is the same. I think those people are like that. They could actually put a lot of work and effort to be stubborn and prideful, unbudging, unwilling to look at life from any other perspective. They could be people who just operate more from pride and ego and money and materialism or indulgence, maybe more about themselves, more about looking like a shining star in the world. That is their truth. And I just saw the truth of it. And I was going to, they can go work with someone else, but I don't want to keep working with them. So when some people got in a more mismatched relationship, they could have gotten in a more mismatched relationship thinking they were going to work together with someone who they thought would be willing to kind of look at things from their perspective too. If you're going to work together with other people, well, I have my dream and you have your dream and you had your idea of what you thought would be emotionally fulfilling. I had my idea of what I thought would be emotionally fulfilling. I thought we were going to work together. That's harnessing High Vibe Virgo energy, where we're both willing that there's some, it can't just be all about me unbudging. If I'm going to do Two of Pentacles, work things out with other people, I need to work with them. And I need to try to see things from their perspective. If we have this common goal and dream. And for sometimes we're in relationships with people and we can be on the same page with them for a long time. And then maybe over time, we kind of all want to move forward in life differently, right? Well, High Vibe, everybody can feel a little betrayed. I think High Vibe people, you can understand, if it's just like a friendship instead of like a romantic relationship, you can understand that people have other priorities in their life and they're married or children and jobs and maybe live in different locations. But you'd like everybody to still be able to stay connected and, sometimes you could feel like some people are like, well, if we're not around each other that much anymore, why even bother? And it's like, oh, well, just because I thought, we loved each other and cared about each other. And then sometimes you can feel like some people that you had been in relationship with, it just seems like, I don't know, like they become a little bit more, and some of them are defending people in their life who don't want them. The devil can talk about, it challenges people's belief systems of and their fear. You could know someone as a friend who is in a marriage or a family dynamic of some sort, and those people are defensive to them hanging out with people who do certain things or look at life differently, or afraid that maybe they'll start to look at life differently, and that maybe they'll want to be in a more authentic, just, fair relationship. And so then they can have people in their life that are like, I don't want you hanging out with those people. I don't want you talking to those people, whether they're friends or family members, or if they're someone they're maybe married to, right? Well, the whole thing is, when we get in some mismatched relationships, we might not realize that we harness these energies differently. And sometimes if there's people who have their way of living life and viewing life, and they think you should live your life like that, and they could want you to be more codependent on them, or for you to kind of quit viewing life the way you view it and what you think is just and fair, to do life the way they want you to do it. But sometimes, we feel stuck. It's just like an employer, oh no, you stay here, it'll all work out eventually. It's like, I've stayed here for a long time and nothing is changing, and they want you, and the same thing happens in relationships. And the people who are more shadowy in the world, it is to try to use the love that people have for them to try to manipulate and control them, because they are more about themselves, and they're kind of selfish and greedy and more about themselves. They think is just and fair. And so then they can be hurtful, and they can be stubborn, and they can be immature and do all these things to try to hurt you and confuse you about trusting and believing in yourself. And we'd kind of rather almost, the bottom row can just represent we want to stay in our comfort zone. We'd almost rather stay with the devil we're with than go face the devil we don't know. In same way, if people are, say a supervisor at a job is being bossy and petty and immature, and of course they didn't present themselves like that when you took the job, and then you find out, oh my gosh, you are nothing like you said you are, and this is miserable, and I feel stuck here. Well then, are we willing to listen to our intuition and work through our fears? And I think if someone's creating a little hell on earth, living in a world of duality, where this and that exists, and we have free will to align with and choose to invest time and energy into either one, that if people are showing us, I'm creating a little hell here, am I going to keep staying in it? Or am I going to listen to my intuition that's telling me, this is toxic, you should move away? So then you go look for new jobs, you start hanging, try to find some new activities and new things to do and new friends to hang out with, because you don't want to keep being around some of these other people in the world. And sometimes people who harness this energy in a high vibe way have that hopeful, believing spirit versus a more immature way of viewing life. Because they don't have that more hopeful, believing spirit, and they do let a lot of things manipulate them, things from their past, the world, their ego, their fear, people in their life, they think, because we tend to think other people think like we do, that you won't keep loving and believing in yourself. And they try to hide that they harness these energies in a more shadowy way. And they could think you're just hiding that you do too. But there came a time where you had to work through all that within yourself. Why would I stay in something or live my life in a way or view life the way I do or think the way I do that's kind of creating a little not what I want? And then you work through and were inspired to put in the work and effort to get to the truth. And I'm going to look through the things within me that would make me keep living life the way I've been living it or hanging out with the people I was hanging out with at one time or for some people currently. And you did do that work to work through. And then, because some other people in the world never do that because it does take work and effort. And some people don't want to see the truth. They don't want to see the truth about themselves. They don't want to see the truth about some viewpoints that they have in the world that maybe are kind of immature or egotistical or more about themselves or even admitting they're more materialistic or self-indulgent focused than they like to realize. Don't like to see the truth about some of the people in their life that kind of manipulate and control them. So they keep thinking you won't do that either, but you did. And so some of the people in your life who were more bossy or controlling or defensive or hurtful or unkind, stubborn, weren't willing to work with you more cooperatively, they could maybe not understand how you got over here, because once you work through the shadow nature of it, then you can go move forward in life differently. And what they don't understand, because shadowy people, sometimes it's all just about trying to create this illusion. Look at me, look what I'm doing, look who I'm in a relationship with, look what kind of job I got, look what I'm wearing, look what I'm doing. It's all to try to create this illusion like they've healed and grown and matured themselves when they haven't. And some of you worked through a lot of those issues of things that could have manipulated you. And you're moving forward in life differently. And the devil can also mean that people could find you attractive. You know, just because high vibe energy is being more independent, more authentic, more balanced, less immature, less bossy, controlling, petty, manipulative. You know, other people see you moving forward. The devil can even just represent, you know, in your career field or something, right? And they don't understand how you did it. How did you cross this bridge? The Queen of Pentacles, the Six of Cups, and the Eight of Swords. Well, for one, the Eight of Swords, like the Nine of Swords up here, is Gemini energy. And Gemini energy is our dualistic nature, air sign energy, of what is my truth. I can do this or I can do that. I can view life like this or I can view life like that, and somewhere on the spectrum in between. And the difference between the One Sword and the Eight of Swords is the Seven of Swords, which is Aquarius energy, which is we kind of struggle within ourselves because we do want these things of the world. We want to be in friendships. We want to be in a relationship. There's these things that we want to manifest in the world. But are we willing to listen to our intuition? Or do we kind of give more in to our fear and our insecurity and our lust and our greed and our codependency? So you had to work through the fact in the Queen of Pentacles, again, the queens can represent how we think and feel, whether you're male or female. You had to work through the fact that you might be a very loyal person. You might be a very loving person, a nurturing person. Could want to be married because the King and Queen of Pentacles is the only married through the deck. But also when you're in relationships and workplaces and stuff, you do really authentically more emotionally invest yourself in them, because in the Six of Cups, you want a deep, meaningful relationship. But we all have things from our past that kind of manipulate us, that could make us more defensive, and we can all not have learned how to emotionally invest in ourselves to reconcile ourselves with some of those issues from our past. So they quit in the Seven of Swords, manipulating us and keeping us in our more immature, fearful, whatever nature. And you did that work within yourself. You did invest, putting in the work and effort to look at life differently, look at life from a higher perspective, put things in perspective. That everyone I've ever known in my life is on this journey. Some of those people chose to do this work within themselves, and some of those people had that more hopeful, believing spirit. And they were loving and nurturing and warm and encouraging and supportive, and some people didn't. And I don't want to keep being someone who chooses to align with my more defensive nature and fearful nature and immature nature. And, I want to free myself too from the devil, things that manipulate me. And you saw the truth. It takes work and effort. I have to look at life differently. I have to expand my perception of myself and the world around me and what I believe is possible. And why do I even think the way that I think? And why do I have these negative thoughts and feelings? Who contributed to all those? So then, we kind of go from the 10 down to the 1, which is the 9 of Pentacles, which can talk about becoming independent from an old foundation. We all grew up in the world. We all grew up in certain families, neighborhoods, communities, states, and countries, that they all had their own life experience and way of viewing the world, right? And we kind of look at, what was their truth? What was my truth? The people that I already know, yeah, they were kind of bossy, controlling, immature, caught up in things, whatever. I realized that those two things, that's not my truth. So then it's kind of to work through from the 8 of Pentacles down to the 1 Pentacle is the 7 of Pentacles, which is kind of working through my own philosophy of life. We all get a lot of things because we're growing up, and we don't really know what our truth is. And we live in certain places, certain households, certain dynamics. We've had certain life experiences. And we accumulated all these, the pentacles can kind of represent these truths about how we view ourselves and how we view the world. And it kind of affects the decisions that we make in our life. But if we really start to think, well, why do I think the way I think? And who put some of those thoughts in my head? And why do I feel that way about some of these things? To really get clear, what is my truth? If I had no outside influences from people, how would I live my life? If I hadn't been brought up in certain communities or areas of the country, would I have some of the prejudices I have? If I hadn't went through some of those life experiences, would I have some of the lack of self-belief or fear that I have? Would I be more free to live my more authentic life? Well, if some of those people aren't in our life anymore, and we're like an adult now, we have the free will to live our authentic truth. But we do have to work through reconciling. The 6 of Cups can reference the past, and the 6 of Cups can talk about coming to a place of emotional peace with it. I accept that everyone has their opinion in life. Everyone went through their life experiences. Everybody had their free will to choose and think and act and view life the way they wanted to. And so do I. And in my Gemini nature of free will, I'm going to invest in loving me. And I'm going to get out of my more codependent energy of looking for other people to play that role in my life. I'm not a child anymore looking for a mom or a dad. I'm an adult and I need to learn to love myself and believe in myself and stand up for myself and be loving and encouraging and compassionate and forgiving to myself for all the lessons I've had to learn. And then I offer it to all the other people in my life too, so I can let them go. I'm going to go live my life, and I'm not going to be up in a mental prison about it anymore. And that's why some people aren't going to come with you, because they would have to do that work within themselves, and that's not their philosophy of life. No, I don't have to do that work. Like, that's not my job. I'll find someone who wants to be in a relationship with me and be a loving, nurturing person to me so I don't have to do that. And they think that will be the answer to their problems. But they can get in relationships with people and they haven't kind of more emotionally matured themselves. They're still kind of codependent. So they want to repeat an old pattern. Because we'll keep repeating an old pattern, which is what the Six of Cups talks about, until we've kind of learned the lesson we were meant to learn from it. And some people are like, no, I don't want to do life any differently. I want to keep doing this. Like, okay. So they want to keep repeating an old pattern, which is probably not being able to be in a very deep, meaningful relationship because they're kind of immature. And probably hide that they have a lot of fears or insecurities, like to live more from their mind than their heart, more about themselves and ego and image or something, and looking for someone to love them, but they really haven't even learned how to love them. And so then, you know, sometimes you can be a loving, nurturing person to other people, but if other people try to love you, then you become defensive to them. No, not me. No, I'm still repeating a pattern of trying to get people who could remind me of people I grew up with who weren't loving, to get people like that to love me. Until we learn to love ourselves, you can be as loving and nurturing of a person as you want, but you'll reject other loving people because you haven't worked through those issues that kind of made you maybe feel unlovable, and you keep trying to get in relationships with people who have some of those same traits and characteristics and ways of being of some people that from when you were in childhood. Like, it's kind of us being in our ego. I'm going to change them. I maybe couldn't have changed those people, but I was a kid, they were my family member, but now I'm an adult, I can get in a relationship with these people, and if I can get in a relationship with them, and I put in all this work and effort to maybe be a loving and encouraging person, it's kind of like toxic love. The devil card looks just like the lover's card, except that they have chains and shackles on them. They will look at life differently, and they will love me, and then I will have reconciled myself with these issues from the past, and I'll be free. Well, that's one way of trying to go about it. And I think we are drawn and attracted to people because we all have our own issues to work through, and we're kind of drawn and attracted, even though we could wonder, why am I drawn and attracted to this person? You know, it doesn't even make sense. But, and it doesn't mean just because we're drawn and attracted to people, we should get in a relationship with them. But some of the people we've been drawn and attracted to was because we could have some similar wounding, and by being in a relationship together, or it just challenges our perspective of ourselves in the world, and it is kind of the stepping stone to moving forward in life with them or without them if it doesn't work out. If we're willing, the Eight of Wands up here in Sagittarius energy is all about higher learning and education. If we're willing to see why I was drawn and attracted to certain people, why I stayed in certain relationships, even when people were hurtful and unkind or whatever, why don't I love and believe in myself enough? Why don't I put in work and effort to love and believe in myself so that I quit getting in relationships like that? If people are defensive to me, why don't I just let them say, hey, all right, and I move on with my life. Not everyone is going to like me, but that could maybe be kind of a more shadowy Libra, Aquarius, and apparently maybe Gemini nature, which Libra can be that aspect within us that wants everybody to like us, like our public politician persona. And Aquarius can be that we want people to view us a certain way and maybe hold us in some high esteem or regard, or like, and we can just get in our ego about it. But if we keep being in our ego about it, why would we be in our ego about people who already show us that they're kind of not very nice? Well, some people, they don't really care if they're nice. Those people might, to them, look like they have these things of the world that they want. And some of those people are not seeing the truth. They're so, because the reason the top row came out is because some people found out they were in some more mismatched relationships, and that some of the people they knew were more about the ego and the image and looking like a shining star or being the center of attention, and just realizing that was their truth, and that is more what drives and motivates them. They want to have a certain image and status, and they think, I guess, that would validate their worth and value in the world. And maybe they're just more shadowy Scorpio, which is the Six of Cups. Maybe they're just more emotionally shallow and superficial and materialistic and like to live more from their mind than their heart. You have to have an interest. You have to be motivated and inspired to even want to connect in with your more emotionally creative, inspired, loving nature. And some people like Scorpio, that's confusing. No. And then we can use our emotions and our sexuality and all of those gifts we've been given to not make us an animal or a computer. We can just use them more manipulatively, and that's kind of shadow energy too. High vibe energy is being authentically who you say you are. And some people are like, no, I do not want to work through the issues to be a more authentic, just and fair and loving person. That takes work and effort on its own. And I think life maybe is just about hiding that you're more shadowy in order to have these things of the world. And then people could get in a relationship with me, and then they could find out I am more shadowy, and I'm not who I say I am, and then people move on from me. And then I could feel betrayed because those people weren't willing to stay in a relationship with me, and they worked through their own fears and insecurities and codependencies to move away from me. And now I'm on the lookout trying to find someone else to get in a relationship with me who I might not want them to know I've been in relationships with people in the past who are loving and nurturing and aligned in high vibe Gemini with truth and love and justice and fairness. And yeah, those people left. But as long as you don't know that, I'll present myself again as I'm motivated and inspired by love. I'm a just and fair person. I'm stable and grounded. I'm not egotistical. I'm not bossy and controlling. And it's just to hide their more shadowy nature instead of dealing with it and freeing themselves from it. That shadowy Scorpio, I'm just going to keep it buried beneath the surface. Nobody will know. If I act a certain way and present myself a certain way, I'll just try to keep it under the surface. But the problem is, they could like to view themselves as this shining star in the world, and that people should want to work with them and people should want to be in a relationship with them because of like these things that they do and how they act and how they dress or the money they have or whatever. But it's not really the truth of who they are, and they're actually operating more from their shadowy nature. Pride, ego, competitiveness. Well then, if they get in a relationship with someone who is more not that, well, then they can be jealous and envious. I don't like that you are really who I try to present myself to be, but that's really the truth of who you are. And then I'm kind of defensive to you, and I'm really defensive and up in my head and afraid that one day you're going to see the truth, that I'm really not who I say I am. And if you do see the truth, well, then I'm going to be defensive to you because you have seen through the illusion. So some people are working in a situation like this. Some of you already went through something like that, and you had to do this work within yourself. Some other people are doing that work within themselves right now. And then to make peace, again, the pages in high vibe can be like, I've worked through the anger, I've worked through the betrayal, and that can take a long time. Scorpio, with us being these emotionally complex human beings, it's one thing to move away from some people. It's another thing to work through. Scorpio is like about exploring the mysteries of life emotionally, and we're emotionally complex people. I hate them. I love them. I don't want to talk to them. I hope they call me tomorrow. And we have to work through all that, again, from the 8 down to the 1. We have to work through that 7 of Cups Aquarius energy. I used to view someone a certain way. I used to wanted a dream to come into reality with them. And it's working through all of that to kind of get to the truth that my dream couldn't come into reality with them. Because their truth is they're not really motivated and inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness and healing and growing and maturing themselves. They have a way of viewing life, and that's not my truth, but that's their truth. So, just like we have our dualistic nature, we have these different people in the world that we can enjoy, but they appeal more to our more shadowy nature of pride, ego, lust, greed, fear, insecurity, codependency, immaturity, self-indulgence. And then we can have people in the world who we can enjoy, but they align with our more hopeful, believing, creative, inspired nature. And they're not trying to manipulate us, and they're not trying to control us. But we maybe have to learn to love ourselves, to believe that we deserve to have our dream come into reality. And we needed to go through these life experiences and that kind of forced us to look at life from a higher perspective. I can make my life more about these things and living my life that way. But I feel stuck. And I feel like I'm missing being in a relationship with someone I could have a more deep, meaningful relationship. In order to be and have that, I need to be in a relationship with someone who's that. And not someone who says, I will not do that. In my free will Gemini nature of self, I will not invest in being more invested in a relationship. I get hurt doing that. And I'm not doing it. And I guess if you have your illusions of love, you can go try to find someone else to get in a relationship with you. I'd maybe be willing to stay in a relationship with you, say the more shadowy people. But you have to let me align with my more shadowy nature. Well, the whole thing is, a house divided can't stand. If you're trying to move forward and bring things forward, like in truth and love and justice and fairness, and they're like, I'll move forward with you, but I'm defensive to being more authentic, more hopeful, more believing. It's like, I want to come with, but I want to be indulged in it. And it's like, I don't want people where I have to keep indulging them in their poor behavior or their immature behavior or their defensive nature or their stubborn nature or their prideful nature, or because it's They want to stay in it more for the ego or the image or the status. I want to be in a relationship with someone who is willing to face their fears to move forward with me. And we all move forward facing our fears. And we let love and intuition guide us more than fear and insecurity and defensiveness. Or lust or greed or pride or ego. How about let's do love? So, another thing they don't realize about some of the high vibe people is that, again, you are willing to cut some of these people and ways of being and thinking and habits and patterns out, and they weren't. And they could have people in their life too, again, friends or family or other people that they could be in a relationship with. I would have to detach from emotionally investing in the past, living more from my mind than my heart, and indulging my more immature nature. And I'd have to emotionally grow up and mature myself. And I maybe have to speak my truth to some people in my life who might be mad if they were to move forward in life and become more independent. And they're not willing to do that. But you were. We have the King of Cups. What they didn't know is you're more motivated and inspired by love than by toxic love or the world. And there was some people in your life that you felt could have harnessed that energy in a more shadowy way. I view the King of Cups as Cancer energy. In high vibe, people are authentically motivated and inspired by love. Love of self and love of others. And some people just want to wear a false mask. Can't I move forward with you in a relationship and I'll act like love and I'll quack like love? But you don't really feel like it's love. And that's shadowy energy, where you feel like someone is indulging in a relationship, like playing a role, playing a part, but it's not really authentically the truth of who they are. And the kings can represent in shadow just how people present themselves in the world. So we can all, male or female, go out in the world and present ourselves as a King of Cups. I'm a loving family person. You should get in a relationship with me. You should work for me. You should go into business with me. But the truth is, emotionally, they can be defensive, cold, reject emotionally growing and maturing themselves, more materialistically motivated, want to be in a relationship, not really love, or to be in a relationship so it's good for their ego and their image, or to have someone try to trap a loving person in a relationship when they know the truth, some of them. I'm not ever going to bring that dream into reality that you want. But as long as you don't know the truth, and as long as you haven't done this work within yourself to love and believe in yourself, to stand up for your truth, well, then I guess we'll do the relationship the way I want. Until you're willing to work through your own fears and insecurities and get out of this relationship. And that's what some of you did. I am going to be a nurturing, loving mother and father to myself. And I'm not going to stay in workplaces, friendships, and relationships with people who really aren't who they say they are. And in the Four of Pentacles, you quit working with them. The Eight of Pentacles can be where you were working together with people and you quit working with them and you held back from them. Because the foundation you're choosing to invest in is love, with the Lover's card, Gemini energy, and the Three of Cups, Cancer energy. And the High Priestess is Pisces and Cancer. I choose in my free will to operate from my more hopeful, believing, loving nature. And my intuition told me that those people, that isn't really what drives and motivates them. They can act like that. Well, they can act like that with someone else. I was already in a relationship and felt stuck and felt betrayed. And kind of maybe saw their more immature way of thinking, logic, and reasoning. and maybe some toxic, stubborn, prideful, egotistical, self-centered ways of being. And then in the Six of Pentacles, from the 4 to the 6, I'm no longer going back and forth about it, and this can take a lot of time. I'm no longer going back and forth about them. Some of those people don't know it, though. Shadowy people are always like, I'm acting prideful and defensive and egotistical, and I'm being defensive to them, and I'm being unkind to them, and I bet they're still confused, and I bet they still are wondering. And the other people are like, no, I've already seen the truth of who you are. I just, I don't think it's worth my time to explain it. Because if you saw the truth, you would communicate the truth to me. I've already probably communicated my truth many times, and I'm no longer going back and forth about it. And I have worked through it, again, in the Six of Pentacles, to feel stable and grounded within myself and balanced within myself. And I've been illuminated to the truth in the Leo Sun energy. And I've learned to love myself and give myself the things that I wish other people would have given me. And I'm focusing my time and attention on the people in my life who do work together with me, who, instead of their fear and their insecurity and their pride and their ego and their immature nature, they listen to their intuition and they do equal give and take with me also. Because they also have been illuminated to the truth that if I were to act in these kind of shadowy ways of being, other people are going to move away from me. So some other people grew up and some other people haven't. And so they're going to have to keep repeating a pattern over and over until they work through some issues that manipulate them, which maybe never. And high vibe people are looking to the future and closing out a cycle, facing their fears. The Four of Pentacles is Capricorn energy. Shadowy Capricorn energy is the devil. And I view high vibe Capricorn as the King of Pentacles. And that would be someone, again, that is stable, grounded, emotionally mature in the world, male or female. But you really are who you say you are. Because you did do the work to face your fears, work through all the things that manipulated you, to move forward and get past it, to move forward in life. You didn't let it stop you. You didn't let it keep manipulating you. You didn't let it keep you feeling stuck and feeling betrayed and keeping you up in a mental prison. I worked through the truth about me and everyone else kind of that had big impacts on my life, and I just dealt with the truth of it. I saw where I needed to heal and grow and mature myself. I saw where they needed to heal and grow and mature themselves. I know that not everybody's like that. I'm going to quit investing my time, energy, and effort into some of my old ways of being that weren't good for me. I'm going to quit investing more time and energy because I know lots of people, get along with lots of people, work with all sorts of different people. Yeah. Do I want to live my life like that again or get a more involved relationship with them? No. Can I be loving and encouraging to everyone? Yeah, that's the type of person I choose to be. But I've been illuminated to the truth that there's some people out there who wear really good false masks that are more manipulative and deceptive and selfish and more about themselves and how it benefits them. And that's a valuable lesson to learn, because before I might have been quite naive and gullible because I aligned with hope and faith and belief and love. I thought everybody would, of course, choose that. But in a world of duality, there's going to be some people that in their free will, they're like, no. But I like being in relationships with people who are like that. You mean, if I get in a relationship with you, you won't be more bossy and controlling and manipulative and prideful and egotistical and bossy and controlling? If anyone's going to do that in the relationship, it's going to be me? Wow. And you put a lot of work and effort to try to make relationships work? To try to make them victorious and successful? damn, this is like a dream come true. And so, we move forward in a more mismatched relationship until we were kind of illuminated to the truth that some of the people we were in a relationship with weren't who they said they were, and we kind of finally see through the illusion, and we do all this work to work through our fears and insecurities about becoming independent of them and believing in ourselves and believing in our dreams that the divine has a plan for our life, and we have free will to manifest what we want. I can either stay in this, or I can trust in hope and faith and belief and love and put work and effort to doing all this work within myself and start investing my time, energy, and effort into doing things differently and investing in different people. And because of that, I think you get to move on, and some other people are looking back at some of the people and ways of living life that they defended, and their manipulation didn't work. And now they're probably in another relationship hiding that they didn't work cooperatively with loving people in their life, and some of them have already moved on, hiding that again they're wearing a false mask, not really opening up, afraid of doing more equal give and take and being more authentic. And now the next person they're in a relationship with, if they're a loving person who has hope and faith and belief, is wondering if they want to keep moving forward with them or not. And they're looking at it thinking, I could move forward with them, but I don't know, I think I feel kind of stuck because they're kind of defensive to change, and they kind of live more from their mind than their heart, and I kind of think it's more about the ego or the image, and I wanted to be in a relationship with someone who was inspired by love, and then that person does this work within themselves. And then they choose to move on. So the pattern keeps repeating for the people who don't want to see the truth that they might have some healing and growing and maturing to do. They're going to keep doing the things that they do, and they're going to have high vibe people who leave, and the people who remain might be more people who are like them, who in turn manipulate them and can be kind of stubborn and egotistical and more superficial and shallow and emotionally shallow. But that's what they chose to defend. So what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Scorpio energy? What's coming up, the people who harness some more high vibrational Scorpio energy, coming up for them that they might not see coming? The Two of Wands, the Moon, and the Three of Pentacles. Why? Because of the Ace of Cups. So because love is the answer. You offered love to yourself and the situation, but I'm not going to keep, so like you had shadowy people who wanted you to keep moving forward with them. But you saw the truth. I'm being loving and encouraging and authentic, and you're harnessing these energies more shadowy. You offered love to bring a dream into reality, but some people won't listen to their intuition. The moon card rules Cancer, and in Pisces, or in tarot, the moon card can represent Pisces. They're shadowy Two of Wands and Aries energy, which anyone can harness, is that they're still trying to control things and thinking maybe things should be more about them. People should love them. People should have fear of loving and believing in themselves and being more bold and brave and confident in the world, because they are. But you offered love to yourself to listen to your intuition and to free yourself from people in your life that you offered love to, but they keep turning their back. Like, I'm willing to do it, but only if we get to keep maintaining the illusion that I'm loving, but I really don't want to emotionally invest authentically from love. But I'm willing to be in a relationship with you and I'm willing to move forward with you. But I won't let myself more emotionally, authentically invest. Well, then the other people are like, I don't want to be in a relationship with someone who uses their emotions manipulatively, who wants to exchange time, energy, and resources with me, but they're operating more from their ego and I'm operating more from love. The devil, people in more defensive, shadowy, whatever, they gotta go find someone else to do that with. I'll go enjoy my life with my friends, my family, my job, my career, and if this was just other people and I'm already in a relationship, I'm going to keep moving forward with those people. And if this is other people just trying to interfere, I'm going to stay focused on the loving people in my life who challenge me to keep loving and believing in myself. And if it's my own more immature nature that is like, well, I don't know, these people require me to put in work and effort. Maybe I could go get in a relationship with someone who feels betrayed because something didn't work out the way they wanted. And then I don't have to put in this work and effort to emotionally grow up and mature myself and maintain balance within myself and act with character and integrity. And that's the free will choice that some people have. And when some of you wanted to move forward and some people right now wanting to move forward with people in a more just and fair and balanced relationship, some people are like, eh. So like I always have to keep putting in work and effort to be inspired by love. I can't. Is it ever just going to be where I can, how about you put in the work and effort and I just coast? You know, and some people, it's kind of like people who have a job and they're motivated and inspired to feel like proud of themselves, that I do work with people cooperatively. I do like my job. I am inspired to do it. But for some people, they never thought they were going to have to do that. It's kind of like this philosophy of life. And the same thing kind of in relationships. Well, I didn't think I would have to do that. That isn't how I thought it worked. Well, maybe if you're not in a relationship, not to say they couldn't be in a relationship with someone they really want to be in a relationship with, but they do these immature things. And it's like, if you want to go be more immature, go be more immature with someone else. I am looking to find someone who is equally inspired to work cooperatively just like they would at a job because they like being in relationships and they don't live an illusion that I should be able to have a job and have all these things work out for me and get all the rewards, but I don't really have to be passionate or creative or inspired about the job. Just give me the paycheck. Let me punch the clock. Yeah, or you can go work somewhere else too. It's like, just like employers want people who put in work and effort, people who are motivated and inspired by truth and love and enjoy relationships, they're not living an illusion that it should be more about them. And I think as you're moving forward in that energy, there's going to be all sorts of different people who could want to be in a relationship with you because you are stable, grounded, moving forward in a way that could look very successful, attractive. It's just that a lot of the people just want to be the next person to indulge in a relationship with you. And it's like, no, not doing that. Already been there and done that. And then other people are doing the work to work through their fear of maybe communicating with you that, they'd like to get to know you. And I think, you're willing to get to know people but, maintain balance and get to know them to kind of figure out the truth more of what drives and motivates them. And if it's one of these more shadowy reasons, it's like, sorry and damn, I would really like to have been in a relationship with some of those people. But it's like, no, I'm not going to go repeat this old pattern. Both people have to be motivated and inspired to work cooperatively more from love than fear or codependency or wanting to be indulged, male or female, in some way. And I think there's some people that are willing to do it, and other people aren't. And if other people are holding back from you, it's like, well, I don't know if you're in a wonderful relationship of your own, and then you're just a role model, or if you're trying to manipulate me. So there's some people that are holding back from working together with you, for some because they know you've been illuminated to the truth. And that's not their truth. It's like, okay, well then, you stay there and I'm going to move on. The divine is offering me an opportunity to have my dreams come into reality if I keep staying focused on listening to truth and love and being inspired to listen to my intuition than my more worldly, shadowy nature. What's coming up for the people who might harness a more shadowy Scorpio energy? The Empress. Why? Because of the Ten of Wands. So the way that can go is some people are shadowy. They like other people to put in all the work and effort, is what the Ten of Wands can be. Shadowy Empress, emotionally, someone wants to be indulged, whether they're male or female. They present themselves as this person who puts in work and effort, motivated by love, but really they're more about the world, ego, image, or themselves. And emotionally, they like to be indulged, and they indulge their more immature nature. And they're just looking for other people who want to work together with them because they might have money, status, ego, image, attractive, wear a good false mask, don't love and believe in themselves yet, have some lessons learned from people like this, who are willing to put a lot of work and effort to try to make things work. And they'll keep indulging in it for as long as people are. But there comes a time that even the loving people can get overwhelmed. Loving people, you can fill up your cup again. You're just a loving person. You can freely give of yourself a lot. It's like a never-ending cup. But even eventually the loving people, they would also like there to be more equal give and take, where I feel like my cup gets refilled. Like, wouldn't it be nice to be in a relationship with someone like me? In a high vibe way. And the shadowy people are thinking, everybody should want to be in a relationship with me. But the reason they think people should want to be in a relationship with them is maybe either because of their self-inflated ego and full of themselves, or because of these things of the world that they have. And there could have been people who were kind of indulging people like that because that was a philosophy of life that they had. And it was a more codependent philosophy of life. And eventually people realized, I deserve to be in a relationship with someone. The Empress is Libra Taurus energy. I view the Queen of Pentacles as Taurus, and the Six of Pentacles as Taurus. Why am I not in relationships with people who are more just and fair and act with character and integrity and more balanced? How did I get myself in such an imbalanced relationship? And part of the reason we could have gotten in such an imbalanced relationship is because some of you really maybe were wanting to kind of stay in denial of the truth because you like to think that everyone chooses love and would choose love. But the truth is, some people will not choose love. If they do love, they get hurt. You are like the devil. You are a threat to their philosophy of life, of protecting a way of living life that they have invested in to protect themselves. And they can move forward in relationships with people, and if they get to where it's like, oh shit, I'm almost kind of thinking that, damn, I should stop this and I should move forward like this and trust these people. And that's when, they have these issues that either from their past, or maybe it could be love, but I don't know if I'd have the status or the image, or there's something in their thinking that manipulates them. And I guess I would be being more inspired to live more from their mind than their heart, make their life more about the world. That is practical and logical. That is the most important thing. That will keep us safe. Versus having a little belief that high vibe energy is about being balanced. Can we have some of these things in the world? High vibe people aren't willing to sacrifice more just, fair, and authentic and enjoyable and give up and just stay in jobs and friendships without having that loving and encouraging and authentic nature. It like kills their soul, they just can't do it. And other people, they'll keep slugging it out, I'm not leaving. Okay. Just like people can stay in a bad job. But anyway, they're always going to have some more high vibe people in their life that are eventually going to move away. People who did want to move forward with them, loved them, wanted to be in a relationship with them, stay in a relationship, stay at that job. But eventually they can't keep denying the truth. I want to give birth to something new, and you are never going to give birth to something new. You have a way of viewing life and living life, and you are unwilling to change. So therefore, it's just more about what you want. And I have my own ways of viewing life that I think are just and fair, that motivate and inspire me, that I want to invest in. And the Empress kind of talks about giving birth to something. I can't give birth to something new if you are defensive to giving birth to something new, or loving yourself, or being more authentic, or being more inspired. Apparently, you are more about the world or yourself or some other things or people in your life. So I wish you peace, and I'm going to move forward to go have a new beginning, and they are going to go maybe try to manipulate someone else to indulge them in a relationship. If they already have people in their life who, whether that's friends or family members, who live life the way they kind of live life, even though it could be overwhelming, they're unwilling to speak their truth, take off the false mask, and go live their more authentic life. So it can just be their ego or their fear or whatever, or these things that drive them, whatever those things are. High vibe people are going to have a new beginning, because when you've learned the lesson you're meant to learn, I think life is all about learning lessons. So if you learn the lesson you're meant to learn, you get to move forward because you overcame the obstacles. You saw through something that manipulated you, or how the world tries to manipulate you, or other people, or fear, or insecurity. You are dealing with the truth and dealing with reality. Everybody has free will, and in a world of duality, some people are going to be more about themselves and shadowy. It's just a fact of life in a world of duality. And you had the free will to decide, is this what I want to keep doing, or is it not? And you chose no. So you get to move to the next stage of life. And you will have a new beginning, because from the 2 to the 8 is taking back the 6 of Wands, something that, a way of living life or viewing life, or things that used to motivate and inspire you, or that you thought would be victorious or successful. You see, it's not. So you're taking back, and the 6 of Wands also is Leo energy, which can be about being in your ego. You're less inspired by your ego and other people who operate more from their worldly egoic nature. And you're more inspired to go on this adventure. That's high vibe Sagittarius. Let's go learn some more lessons. I learned the lesson. I didn't like that. I spoke my truth. I offered truth and love for people to work together with me cooperatively. They had fear about doing that. I wished them peace, and I'm moving on. And I'm going to listen to love and intuition to guide me versus fear and insecurity. And they'll probably keep letting more fear and insecurity or lust or greed or something drive their decisions until they get tired of doing it. But they may never. You know, the devil kind of gets a stranglehold on people, and it's kind of hard to get out of it, right? So the more egotistical you are, the more materialistic you are, the more you like to indulge in things thinking that will be the answer to your problems or make you feel better in a more imbalanced way, or getting in relationships to just be the answer to your problems, and you never, or more prideful, more egotistical, the more entrenched they are. But they will keep repeating a pattern of maybe trying to get people to indulge them because that's their truth, or because they haven't healed, they might be drawn and attracted to someone who reminds them of someone in their life who they had love for, and they'll really try to put in a lot of work and effort for that person to love them, but that's not that person's truth. And then they need to deal with the truth that they're not that type of person, and neither were some of the other people in their life. But they haven't been wanting to see the truth of it. And they can keep trying to change other people, but other people have their free will. And it doesn't have anything to do with our worth and value, but for some people, it really affected them, because if someone who they thought loved them, and in a lot of ways could have acted loving, but maybe they were kind of, again, stubborn, prideful, manipulative, egotistical, all these things, it's just confusing. And until they're willing to work through all that confusion, it's going to keep manipulating them. So there you go, Scorpio. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.